used to live here, spend time there. Some time ago, when I was a chaplain at the Punahou School in Honolulu, Hawaii, I used to make the 100-mile flight on weekends to the island of Kauai and serve a church. You know, Kauai always reminded me of a tropical Vermont, one of my favorite states. It's got mountains that are abundant mountains about 3,000 to 4,000 feet high with these lush green fields on the windward side of the island. I was there because I was a minister at a Japanese Hawaiian Congregational Church, a very New Englandy looking church in Paradise. Now, what makes Hawaii so wonderful in many ways is the blend of New England, Polynesian, and different Chinese and Japanese Asian cultures all coming together. Much to my delight, I discovered not far from my home an archaeological and cultural treasure in a valley that had long been recognized by the Hawaiian people as a healing sanctuary. But in 1904, the first generation of Japanese immigrants who came to work the sugarcane fields built these 88-foot tall 88 shrines that are 3 feet tall, and they put these tiny little Buddha statues in them. The Buddhas were crafted by several of the local people. The shrines to this day are nestled in the hillside of this ancient Hawaiian sanctuary. It is the only replica outside of Japan of the 88 Buddhist temples on the Japanese island of Shikoku. Naturally, I fell in love with this Buddhist Hawaiian sanctuary, and I visited often with some of my parishioners and also alone for spiritual reflection and inspiration. One day, I was there with a beloved older member of my congregation, a 103-year-old beautiful woman named Mrs. Florence Kamai. I followed behind her as she slowly made her way and gently, with firm steps, wound her way up the trail. She stopped about halfway up at one of the 88 little shrines, and when she caught her breath, she's 103, I lit a stick of incense, placed it by the Buddha, and then she asked me to say a prayer for her family. She asked me to say a prayer for my family, for our church in Hanapepe, and as well for the whole world. When I finished, I looked up at the bamboo trees on the hillside. She looked up at the bamboo trees on the hillside. She said softly, "When my daughter was overseas as a nurse during the war, I used to worry about her. And I would come here for comfort, to find peace of mind." And then she said, "Do you see those bamboo trees up on the hill? Do you see how the leaves are drooping in the still morning air?" "I do," I said, Miss Kamai. Miss Kamai was amazing. She was still playing ukulele at 103 in local senior centers and at church festivities. She said, "Do you see how the drooping leaves cross one another?" She said the drooping leaves symbolize the Chinese character for tranquility. She said with her youthful 103-year-old smile, "I learned this in my childhood from my Chinese friends on the island." So the Chinese came here before the Japanese to farm the fields. She said, "You know, most Kauaians in this part of the island are Japanese, Chinese, Hawaiian, and Filipino. You are one of the few haoles living here," she said, lightly holding my wrist with a twinkle in her eye and a warm, loving expression on her face. She was playful, she loved to tease, and she was still full of mischief. But then a more serious look came over her, and she said, when my daughter was in the war, I would always breathe a sigh of relief when I received one of these letters with a bamboo folded leaf in it, because it meant that she was safe. It was also a way for her to say that she hoped everyone at home was happy and healthy. "Even though we are not Chinese," she told me, "we know this custom well of sending home a bamboo leaf to make sure that there was a symbol that everything is okay. Chinese, Japanese, Hawaiian, American, we are all one on this earth," she said, "and God loves every one of us. Don't you think so, Kahu Bob?" They call ministers in Hawaii Kahu. I said, "Absolutely, I couldn't agree more." And as we were leaving, I looked up at the bamboo trees towering over the hill that held the 88 Buddha shrines and observed the drooping leaves as they came together in this beautiful symbol of tranquility. And I thought to myself, that is the perfect image right there of what serenity and tranquility is. Well, Mrs. Ganung and I used to live on the island of Oahu with our grown children, Teddy and Libby, and I would make daily treks with my 2 golden retrievers to Manoa Falls, just up the mountain behind our house. It was a 2-mile round trip, and part of it was through this incredible bamboo forest. I love to stop where the dogs are rustling around. You know, there are these big wild boars that are 400 pounds. You know, hopefully they wouldn't get one of the dogs. And I just listen to the wind moving through the grove of majestic, tall bamboo. You know, many cultures in Asia, bamboo is considered a gentleman, or we could say a gentlewoman, with perfect virtues, because it combines upright integrity with accommodating flexibility, which is the true essence of Chan, or what we call Zen Buddhism in Japan. It has a perfect balance of grace and strength, or the yin and the yang. When storms come, bamboo bends with the wind. When storms cease, it resumes its upright position. Bamboo's ability to cope with adversity and stand firmly without losing its ground is remarkable. It is amazingly resilient, and it provides us with a powerful image in a metaphorical sense, because you will face adversity at some point here at Taft, and surely in your life, as all of us must. But if you are grounded in sound, moral, ethical, and a spiritual foundation, a foundation you certainly started building with your family, and you will continue to build here at Taft, you will bounce back and remain firmly grounded. Bamboo, in its natural beauty, symbolizes simplicity and humility. In Chan and Zen poetry in China and Japan, it is replete with references to how the empty trunk of bamboo exemplifies humility. The person who empties his or her heart and mind remains open and receptive and is humble. How can you learn? How can you learn if your cup, if your mind is filled with prejudgments, with opinions, with assumptions that are often false, with fixed ideas about anything or anyone? So each day, you and I must empty our minds and approach the day with a beginner's mind, because in the beginner's mind, there are multiple possibilities for learning and growth, but in the expert's minds, there are very few. And if you want to read more about that, there's a wonderful book by Shunryu Suzuki, who presided over the first Zen temple built in the United States in California in the 1960s. It's a thin book. It's called Zen Mind, Beginner's Mind. There are many species of bamboo, but all of them have root systems that take years to take hold and spread. The roots grow for years under the surface of the soil. It seems like nothing is happening for the longest time, and then presto, a tender shoot comes forth and grows a few feet in a day. Then in the next few days, it grows more and more, and in a matter of a few months, it's over 90 feet tall. Sometimes we see a person who seems to gain overnight success in a certain field, profession, or sport. But the truth is that behind or underneath many of these so-called overnight success stories are years of sculpting and practice. By the time people on the outside world see their successes, countless hours of work and focus have been invested. Think of Malcolm X's book, Outliers here, and the 10,000-hour rule. We humans, we're fickle people. We grow impatient when things don't happen, when we want them to, where we want them to. We want immediate gratification. But if we learn the spiritual practice of patience, we discover that inner transformation takes time, happens incrementally. And it only happens when we are intentional, when we work hard, when we persevere, and when we cultivate an indomitable spirit. Often we don't see the results right away, and we want to give up. But if we stick with it, the roots take hold and positive things happen. It takes on average 4 years for a bamboo's root system to develop, but by the 5th year, it rapidly grows skyward. Developing you mids, in particular you lower mids, you've got 4 years ahead of you. You are laying down, as everyone here has already done in the last few years, you are laying down a new root system. And when you're a freshman in college, you're going to soar if you tend your soil well now, are diligent, seek help and advice when you need it, and never, ever give up. So to recap about bamboo and how it can relate to our lives. Bamboo represents a person with perfect virtues. Bamboo is resilient and flexible. Bamboo bends in storms but does not break. It bounces back to its upright position unscathed. Bamboo represents grace and a life of simplicity. Bamboo has a root system that takes 4 years to develop, but becomes a complex structure that makes the ground around it stable, that can firmly hold a 100-foot tree. Bamboo has a hollow trunk, which symbolizes humility. because it is empty of prejudgments, assumptions, opinions, and dogmatic ideas. You know, by observing nature, there is much that we can learn, and there is much we can learn from bamboo. Now, the second part of my short talk here is about morning meeting. What is it? Now, historically, we had Vesper services before my time, met 4 times a week here. It was required. It was like a chapel service. And it's over the years, it's transformed into what we call morning meeting on Tuesdays and Thursday mornings, exactly the same time as assembly, which is Wednesday and Saturday. So it's got the same feeling, we're in the same place, but it's a very different experience. So what do we do in morning meeting? Well, we have teachers like myself, we have students, mostly seniors, and we have a range of outside speakers come in. And in a very general and broad way, we address moral, ethical, and spiritual issues. And we do this through religion, through history, through science, through music, through the arts. In many different ways we do this. And of course, you can have a sense of humor. We can do all kinds of creative things. But the general idea, this is our sacred time together. So a morning meeting, respect for every speaker is a must. But I never really liked the word respect much, because a much deeper word is reverence. What is the difference between reverence and respect? Reverence, to revere, realize the other has the divine potential within them. We all have divinity within us. We all are unique beings. We're all sacred. It's the way I like to look at it. So even if you're not religious at all, look for the best qualities in the person who's up here. Try and learn from them. You may find that you disagree with the speaker, student, teacher, an outside speaker. That's fine. Engage them in an intelligent discussion afterwards in the faculty room, question and answer. That's what it's for, a learning process. But it's always, we do it with, as soon as somebody walks up the steps, we're silent and we have this reverential feeling. So when we enter the doors of Bingham on Tuesday and Thursdays, Wednesdays and Saturdays again is not my bailiwick, but Tuesday and Thursday, let's do it as though we're entering a sacred temple. A Hawaiian heiau, a cathedral, a mosque, a synagogue, a meditation hall, whatever you want to think. This will help you elevate your heart and mind so you can contemplate the words of St. Paul, who said, all the things in life, let us honor all the things in life that are true, pure, lovely, and gracious. And then a few practical things. Obviously, there are no cell phones in here. Mr. McMullen talked about that yesterday. Computers, doing your homework, chatting when the speaker is up here speaking, food and drink. It's no different than being in a classroom. But this is really important. I think you're going to grow to really enjoy morning meeting. It belongs to you, and we think it's a very important part of our education. It's part of educating the whole person. You know, and if you want to leave early, there's always an issue of time here. You want to leave early, come on time and take your seats. You know, so then we can get out of here on time. You'll have those extra few minutes to have tea, coffee, fellowship with your friends, which I know you want to have, which you need. Just a few things about me. I'm the chaplain, Mr. Ganung, Reverend Ganung. And what I do, like all the teachers do many different things, but what I do in terms of religion and spiritual life, I work with the Jewish student organization, Focus, which is our Christian group on campus, have meditation classes periodically. In the past, I've worked with Muslim students. There's a Muslim mosque that's in Waterbury. So if there are Muslim students here now who are interested in that, periodically on a Friday, I can take you down there. And students from other different religious traditions, whether Hindu, we have Zoroastrian, we occasionally have Baha'i, and other traditions represented. I want to create a spiritual life committee, which I have in the past. And lastly, very importantly, what's coming up in particular is Rosh Hashanah, the High Holy Days in the Jewish tradition, on September 25th. So those Jewish students who would like to go with me to the Southbury Reform Temple with Rabbi Polikoff, whom I work closely with, whose daughter Mia is here. He's been involved in the community here for many, many years. Please speak to me. We'll make those arrangements for during Yom Kippur, Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. So with that, think of the lessons we can learn from bamboo. Take care. Have a great day.